Welcome to Cadborough Bay United Church. We're glad to have you worshiping with us this day. We want to begin by acknowledging that we're on the lands of the Coast Salish people, particularly the Lekwungen, and we give thanks for their stewardship of this land upon which we work and play and live our lives. This is a special Sunday for us. This is the Sunday in which we move to become an official member of the Affirming network. And so as a part of that, as we often say, you are welcome in this place, regardless, whether you're tall or short or somewhere in between, whether you're gay or straight or somewhere in between, whether you're male or female or somewhere in between, whether you're old or young or somewhere in between, whether you're single or married or somewhere in between, regardless, this place is for you. All are welcome, and we're serious.
Greetings. It is indeed a special Sunday. Well, I want to mention that part of our liturgy today is taken from the United Church National Affirm resources found on their website, and we're grateful for those resources. This day at Cadborough Bay, we have so much to celebrate. And so as we light this rainbow candle, we affirm that the holy takes on flesh in every sexual orientation and gender identity, in every race and ability, and in every body size and body type. Each embodied difference is a unique glimpse of holy wonder and holy light. Rainbow people of a rainbow God, this light in each of us is good and true and beautiful. Amen. We're going to go now to a video clip of Linda Hutchinson from our National Affirm office in Toronto. And Linda will now present us with our official certificate, and she shares words of greeting with us.
Hello, everybody. I'm Linda Hutchinson, one of the coordinators of the Affirming Ministry program for Affirm United. And I'm delighted to be here with you today on this very special and historical occasion as you become an affirming ministry. This is indeed a first for you to become declared an affirming ministry, for Affirm United to be having this first celebration, which is recorded and streamed out to the folks of Cadborough Bay United Church while you're at home. I hope that you are well and that you will continue to be so and be safe. And as I say, I'm delighted. This is my first time presenting in a recorded presentation. So delighted to be with you, and thank you for inviting me. The goals of Affirm United, which is a justice-seeking organization, are education, advocacy, and support for all marginalized people, but particularly focusing on those of varying sexual orientations and gender identities. Here at Cadborough Bay, as you become an affirming ministry, you are the 10th on Vancouver Island and the 28th in British Columbia. You join with over 228 affirming ministries across Canada, communities of faith, education centers, chaplaincy at Dalhousie University, and a facilitated assisted living facility in Edmonton, Alberta. So quite a range of ministries that have chosen to be committed to this justice-seeking work. Let me read the certificate to you now. Affirm United, s'affirmer ensemble, is pleased to recognize Cadborough Bay United Church, Victoria, British Columbia, as an affirming ministry within the United Church of Canada. We acknowledge that this community of faith has completed the Affirming Ministry educational program and has issued a statement of faith and action which welcomes people of all sexual orientations and gender identities into every aspect of their life and work. And it's signed by me, an honor to sign it for you, and dated Sunday, May the 3rd, 2020. So congratulations, Cadborough Bay. You have done it, and we are delighted to include you now in our network of affirming ministries across Canada, doing this justice-seeking working for radical hospitality for all of God's people and all of God's creation. May you be blessed.
As part of our celebration, we have a new flag to be unveiled here at Cadborough Bay as part of our symbol of the love that encompasses all sexual orientations and all gender identities. And so, along with the certificate that we've been presented, these two symbols now stand as part of our journey together, acknowledging the path that we've been on for a long time and the ways in which we seek to be this kind of rainbow connection. And so let's have the gift of music of our musicians as we listen to the Rainbow Connection.
So many songs about rainbows and what's on the other side. Rainbows are visions, but only illusions, and rainbows have nothing to hide. So we've been told, and some choose to believe it. I know they're wrong, wait and see. Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers and me. That every wish would be heard and answered when wished on the morning star. Somebody thought of that and someone believed it, and look what it's done so far. What's so amazing that keeps us stargazing? And what do we think we might see? Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me.
So welcome, folks, as we continue our journey this morning in our process of becoming an affirming congregation. I'm delighted to have these 7 individuals gathered around us in a virtual way to share their thoughts and their perspectives and their stories this morning. So I'm delighted they can join us, and I'm delighted that you're joining us online. And so we're going to begin by just having folks introduce themselves around the circle. Let's begin over on my right.
Okay, Mark. I'm Ron Fisher. Identify as gay or queer. He, him, and I've been going to Cabaret United for about 5 years now.
So thanks.
You're welcome.
My name's Graham. I am a gay male. I identify as he, him, his, and I have been involved with Cabaret United Church since I think I was 3 years old, so that would be 22 years, although I was baptized shortly after I was born.
Awesome, thanks, Graham.
My name is Kath. I am gender fluid. My pronouns are they, them, theirs. I was baptized in the United Church, but I've been going to Cabaret for about a year now.
Thanks, Kath.
My name is Adri. I identify as bisexual, queer. I use the pronouns she and her. And I started going to Cabaret United in my first year, so 5 years ago. And before that, I grew up at Leaside United Church in Toronto and also went to United Church Camp every summer.
Awesome, thanks, Adri.
I'm Barry Cameron. I moved to Victoria this past summer. My husband's posted in the Navy. And prior to that, I was from Halifax and at a United Church there for 8.5 years.
Great, thanks, Barry.
I'm Betty Doherty. I identify as Betty. I don't like labels and pigeonholes. I'm very challenged by the whole pronoun thing, but I go by she and her. And Anne is my partner. I've been at Cabaret, I guess going on 3 years. I was there 40 years ago when my kids were small, and then I left. And then Eleni Winkle invited me back, and I really liked what I saw, so here I am.
Great, thanks, Betty.
Hi, I'm Ann Crozier-Smith. I'm Betty's partner, and I don't like to be labeled either, so I go by she, her, and I just like to be me. And again, being Betty's partner, we've been there about Cabaret about 3 years. I started out Anglican, then went to the United, and I'm back.
All right, well, thanks, folks, very much for being with us. And so it's been a road to get us to this place. Cabaret's seen itself as an affirming congregation, but not had the designation. And it was moving into the amalgamation that kind of pushed the question to happen. But what we intend and what people experience aren't always the same thing. And so I'm wondering, what's been your experience at Cabaret as to its openness, its affirming nature, its ability to provide a safe place for all people, regardless of their sexual orientation or gender identity? And maybe you've got some examples or a story that might illustrate what's made a difference for you.
Okay, well, I'll start. It was part of my journey. I just came out shy of 5 years ago, and it was really important to me to sort of go somewhere where I felt comfortable. I hadn't been going to church for a very long time, since actually I was a kid. And I mean, I'd been a couple of times in between, and so it was really important to me. It was sort of the last piece for me to sort of be me. I needed to know I could go to a church and be accepted. I'm a hairstylist, and I had many clients that went to Cabaret United, and they expressed what it was like. So I went myself, and I absolutely felt that way. And so an experience that I had was actually being involved in the multicultural discussions. with groups of people, and I would share my story as part of what we were doing. And afterwards, two times I can remember someone coming up to me and saying, "Thank you so much for being here. It was wonderful to hear your story, and it really had an impact on me." I just felt like I belonged. I just felt like I'd found a place that I could call home. So that's my answer to that question.
Awesome.
I was lucky to be able to, I guess, choose my church when I came to Victoria, which was the first time in my life where that was something I got to do and be in charge of. And like anything, I always look into all my options. And so I researched a bunch of churches and went through websites. And the website for Cadboro Bay United had like a pride flag on it, which a lot of United Church websites do. But also some of their language on the website just stood out to me. And I thought, okay, I'll give that a try. And I went, and it was definitely one of my first weeks. There was a communion Sunday, and hearing the language of like, no matter who you are, if you're man, woman, or somewhere in between. And I was like, oh, okay, this is like above and beyond anything I had ever experienced before. And I think it's funny because when I tell my friends at UVic that I go to church, and they'll sort of ask, oh, which one? Even friends who don't go to churches because they jog and stuff in the areas. I'm like, it's on Arbutus. And most of the time they're like, oh, the one with all the pride flags. So it's something that other people notice as well, which I think is pretty cool.
Great. Thanks, Adrian.
Well,
I'll
I like
speak next.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, Anne, you
Okay.
go.
No, please.
My experience with Cadboro Bay United's openness goes right back to when we first started going there. Unlike Adrian, I didn't really have a choice of where I went to church. It's just where we went as a family, because it was literally down the road from us. And so every Sunday we'd put in our Sunday best and hop down the road to go to church. And I remember this one song we'd always sing, and still do sing. And Mark, this is before you were in the picture as the minister. It's the come in and sit down, for you are a part of the family. And it goes on to explain, the old 65ers, the streetwise 16s, and it just right from the get-go, from a young age, everyone and anyone was welcome, no matter how they looked or how they identified. And bear in mind, this is 20 years ago. This is before being open and accepting of everyone was the popular thing to do. It was really groundbreaking if you think about it. And then, of course, there's driving by every day. There's the pride flags in the window. And one thing that hits home really, really strongly for me was around the same time that our partners down south, United States, their Supreme Court decision to legalize all same-sex marriages. Mark, you think it was you who put it up on the sign, LBGT, loved by God truly. And I thought that was a really beautiful message.
Awesome. Thanks, Graham. You want to jump in now, Anne?
Okay, I can do that. I just really appreciated when Betty and I first attended that it really didn't make a difference who I was or how I identified, which is me. I don't identify with being lesbian. I mean, I am, but I don't identify that way. And I just really appreciate that we can be honest and open and authentic, and people just appreciate who we are for the gifts that we bring. And I really appreciate hearing as Adri said, that somewhere in between. It doesn't matter if you're here or you're there. You're not. It's just very fluid, and I love that part. And I don't feel like I need to guard my words, as in some churches I've been at. Coming out really split the congregation, and then I was put in the back pew, basically. I wasn't allowed to be who I was, and I couldn't take leadership roles. So I just bring my gifts to Cadboro Bay, and I really feel good about I'm welcome for who I am, and the gifts that I bring. So thank you.
Yeah, I can definitely echo that concept of the language that's used in service, and that's always been very welcoming. Coming back to regular service, I was cautious because there's so many stories of bad situations, and I knew the United Church had no intention of bad, but I just wanted to be cautious coming in before I really set down roots. And so a lot of little things really just add up, you know, having the gender neutral washroom. I remember in the fall when Pat had us do our young adult lunch day, when we went around the circle, she asked that we do pronouns, and it's like, you know, just those little things can really make a difference.
For me, I've never particularly felt welcome at church because I have a hard time breaking into the larger group. What I've appreciated about Cabra Bay is all the little groups where I get to know people, whether it's the Lectio group or movie night or study groups, and just invitations to help out and belong and just be who I am. It's coming from an Anglican background, and they're about 50 years behind the United Church. I think they're still having a problem with, I know we're all sinners, and the unspoken word is that, but you're a bigger sinner than the rest of us, you know? And I'm just not interested in that, and I'm not interested in the hierarchy. I really like the being on an even playing field, and everybody gets to contribute what they have to contribute, and everybody's appreciated. And it doesn't matter whether you've been there for the first time or whether you've been there for 40 years. You're part of the church.
Anything you want to add, Barry?
I haven't been with you guys very long, but my first service right away, I just felt just at home, totally comfortable. And I did visit quite a few churches in the area when we moved in, and I just didn't have that same feeling and belonging as I do with Cadbro Bay.
Awesome. So as the church has kind of made these moves over the years, it's done so with some intentionality. Certainly at Cabra Bay, we've been intentional about decisions about things we put on signs or flags that we put up, or assigning gender neutral kinds of pieces. And participating in the Pride Parade each year has been an important piece that large numbers of the congregation have participated in the past. Some years we've had up to 40 members of the congregation joining us in that parade. So why do you think it's important for churches to be public about being affirming of people in their journey, regardless of one's gender identity or orientation, and being able to celebrate the beauty of that diversity?
I can speak to that just I think it's funny because when I was younger, I was still sort of questioning my own identity. I was like, why does it always have to be like really out and open, and we're like publicizing things? And realizing though that it's to reach people who might not otherwise know that they are welcome. And so for someone who grew up in the United Church and always had messaging of like, you're welcome here, I knew it. But other people still see church as a really scary place where no one is welcome. And there are churches like that. So by making sure that we're public about it, we have presence in the community, we're going to reach far more people who might not know that they truly do belong and that they're welcome to be who they are in the space.
I echo that. I grew up in a Calvinist background church where I was welcome to be involved to a certain extent, but not to be me and to hide that. And there were some aspects of ministry I just couldn't be involved in because of that. So it's pretty disheartening to have those kind of situations. So it's like, for me, it's important to be able to be part of a church that's saying that it's affirming, that you can be involved in all aspects of the church and be you.
I totally agree. I think that we're all just trying to make our way in the world. And it's very, very stressful and quite exhausting if you're trying to hide a part of who you are. And so that openness and acceptance is huge, because it makes us feel like we have gifts to give and we are just as important. We're not them and they. So I think that when we do that, we make a more loving and connected community. And so I totally agree that churches should be more open, being seen as affirming. I just hope they all do at some point.
Yeah. For me, it was very interesting when I first came out and started to meet more people in the community, because it depends on when you grew up as well. Like when I grew up, that was one of my biggest things, right? Because I grew up in a period of time where it wasn't like you just knew you had to bury it. And so that was part of my journey in the end, was coming to church and finding out that I could be accepted. And I know there's a lot of people like myself out there, that want a connection, want to go to church, want to be with that community, but don't feel like they're welcome. So we need to put that out there, because there's a lot of churches and a lot of people believe that, because they're more outspoken, that they're not welcome. And so they just put a blanket over everyone that, well, all churches are the same way. Well, they aren't. And I just think that right now community is so important. And I think the church does such a fabulous job of creating community, and always has. And we need to step into that role again. And by being open and affirming just says it in spades, because to me, affirming also takes in a lot of other things, right? Any group that are marginalized, right, are welcome. So I just think it's a wonderful thing to do, and it's very needed.
Yeah, I agree, Ron. I think, it's not just the LGBTQ, it's everybody, whether you're dealing with mental illness or divorce or unemployment or whatever it is you're struggling with. You want to know that you can go to church and it's okay. It doesn't matter what you wear. I mean, I love that invitation to the communion, as Adri says, because it makes it explicit. And then there's no question of, am I acceptable or not? It's, yeah, we're all, we need to get out of those little boats. We're all in the same storm in our little boats, and we need to build a big ship that takes everybody and just equalize things and let people know, come on in, because we're here for you, and we're here for each other, and we're all here for each other. We all have our challenges. We're not one above the other.
Yeah, I really like the word affirmation, because it really shows that all people, just like Betty and Ron have said, that all people, no matter if they're LGBT or straight or status of employment, what clothes they wear, are not only just welcomed and tolerated, but are loved and accepted and appreciated, and everything they have to contribute, all their gifts, their values, anything they want to say is valid, is valued, and everyone brings something to the table that we can all grow from learning about. So I think it's a really important process to go through, to have that affirmation status, to really let the world know that everyone is valued and appreciated for who they are, no matter what that is.
I'm definitely feeling what Graham is feeling with the affirming concept. Some people love different words to describe themselves, other people hate different words, but affirming and kind of the language around that really feels, to me at least, like taking everyone where they're at in their journey, again, no matter what's going on in their life, but just welcoming them and asking for them to kind of join the community. And I love that concept.
a part of that public witness becomes important. Two of the people that were invited to be on here today, while they feel quite comfortable in the congregation being out and being in relationship and folks knowing, had to decline this invitation because of some possibilities of huge recriminations for them at work, and for the work that they do that involves being in and around the world. And in the case of one of them, the possibility of physical harm. And so I think it's easy for us to become complacent and sometimes in our part of the world and not remember that there are still huge dangers for folks in the LGBTQ community around lots of places of stability. And so for me, that's one of the reasons why being public about our place of being affirming and supportive and safe for folks is so important. So as we move forward in this journey and move toward a place of amalgamation and kind of laying out, well, a group of folks have put together a bit of an action plan about what we want to be. I wonder if you can think of some ways that you think we might grow to be more inclusive and welcoming and safe for those who need to know that there's a community ready to embrace them.
I think our small group ministry is going to be a big piece of that. I just think it's so important to have places where we can tell our stories and hear everybody else's stories and know what's happening in people's lives. I love the intercultural piece we do once a month, because we get to hear stories of what it's like when you walk into a bank or you walk into the police station or you walk into a hospital and you get treated differently because English is your second language, not your first language, or the color of your skin, or all of those stupid ways in which we separate ourselves instead of pulling together and treating everyone with love and consideration and giving them what they need.
I totally agree with you, Betty. I think that piece is really an important piece, because it's easier to reach out, and you get to reach out in areas that are where your gifts are, what you're interested in. So you're reaching those people, and each one of us are different. So each one of us will bring something else to the table and meet other people, and and then we're a whole at the same time. So it's just a great thing that's happening, and why I want to participate in it, actually.
Awesome.
I think there's something to be said too about having someone working in the administration in some level, or at the church in some level, who's openly queer, just as like representation or offering, being able to like have someone to chat to maybe who relates more to life experiences. And I think that also can lead to opportunities of like workshops, offerings, and other education pieces, or like queer Bible study and other things to just help bring, because also recognizing that not everyone who will come, like people may choose Cadboro Bay United so that because they know it's like welcoming, but even if they're there, they might not be out. And so being able to have some like queer specific groups that are more like not with the whole church congregation, I think can be a powerful place and a starting point for a lot of people, especially young people. That tends to be where they leap out from, will be like a small youth group and then out from there. But I also think what's being done is fantastic already. So this is just my like ideal.
Yeah, no, I think it's great ideas.
I just want to, that's why the group that I want to start, I met a group over in Vancouver, started The Word Is Out. Whether I follow that exact format that they have or not, but the reason I want to do that is specifically for what you said. Mm-hmm. It's for that community, right? It's for our community, because you want a place that you feel safe, but it's got to organically grow into whatever it's going to be. Like I know in Vancouver, it seems to be all gay men. And I know it should be so much more than that. And so I'm open to see seeing it be a different way. The other thing is with the group in Vancouver, I noticed that the age group is older. I'd like to see younger, but for that, you need participation and you need people to be involved that want to sort of help move that part forward. So just put a note there.
Absolutely. That's amazing.
Well, first off, when Betty and I started at CBUC, it was an affirming church before we go through this process of becoming an affirmed church. And I think that the educational piece, like Mark's movie nights, and as Betty was saying, the intercultural, where we actually get a taste of what it's like for others as we sit in our white privilege place. So I really like the educational piece, and I'm excited about the new your new ideas around inviting other gay and lesbian LGBTQ into our community. And I would hope at some point that that's not just them being in their little place, but we all get together and celebrate as a whole unit, like just appreciate everybody, not just have the group here that does LGBTQ and this piece here that does intercultural, but that we come together. And Mark, you do a really good job of bringing the pieces together, but I think as a community, we all need to do that. And I'm excited, as Betty said, about the small groups as well. That's going to be exciting.
I definitely feel that the small groups are an easy way for people to be more open. Sometimes just sheer numbers of people can be overwhelming. And so whether it's small groups or intercultural or, special LGBT groups, that's all good. And it's all ways to start educating people and start getting people more involved. I think all that is super important.
Awesome.
I love the language that is used at Cabra Bay United Church. Mark, just going back to communion, when all people are welcome at the table, no matter if you're gay, straight, somewhere in between, or no matter where you are on your journey of self-discovery. And that applies also to personal gender identity, no matter if you're male, female, somewhere in between, or just somewhere on your own self-identifying journey. It doesn't matter, you're all welcome. But there's another piece, if we're just looking for advice on what we can do in addition to that use of language, and this isn't LGBT specific, but any time that I've noticed the use of the word Almighty God, that doesn't ring true for me. I don't tend to like that language. So I've done a little bit of research and I found one that does work better for me, and I think it might work better for a lot of people because it's much more open to interpretation, and that is ever-loving presence. So anyone can really identify with that. Everyone wants to feel loved, and the presence that the God that I like is ever-loving. And God, for a lot of people, the word God goes back to a time when there was a lot of unacceptance. And so it can bring back really bad memories for a lot of people and, in fact, push people away from the church. And so a presence can be anything, no matter how you interpret that to be. So I like the words ever-loving presence.
Great, thanks, Graham. Anything else people want to jump in with? If not, I want to thank you all for spending this time with me and also with the whole congregation at CBUC, for your willingness to share a bit of your perspective and to be out there in the world as part of that loving presence, I know amongst where we are. And so you embody that. And as we've said before, in each of you is an embodiment of the holy. And so I give thanks for your life, for your witness, and for your ministry. And thank you all for being here today.
Thank you.
Thanks for
for
the
inviting
opportunity.
us.
Thanks for having us.
My mama told me when I was young, we were all born superstars. She pulled my hair and put my lipstick on in the glass of her boudoir. There's nothing wrong with loving who you are, she said, because he made you perfect, babe. So hold your head up, girl, and you'll be far. Listen to me when I say I'm beautiful in my way, 'cause my makes no mistake. I'm on the right track, baby. I was born this way. Don't hide yourself in regret. Just love yourself and you said I'm on the right track, baby. I was born this way. Ooh, oh, what a way. Right track, baby. I was born this way. There ain't no other way. I'm on the right track, baby.
Just be a queen, don't be a drag, just be a queen, don't be a drag, just be a queen, don't be.
I'm beautiful in my way, 'cause that makes no mistake. I'm on the right track, baby. I was born this way. Don't hide yourself in regret. Just love yourself and you said I'm on the right track, baby. I was born this way. Don't hide yourself in regret. Just love yourself, you said. Right track, right track. Don't love yourself. You're on the right track, baby. You're born this way. Don't hide yourself in regret. Just love yourself and you said I'm on the right track, baby. I was born this way. Don't hide yourself in regret. Just love yourself and you said I'm on the right track, baby. I was born this way. 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 Born this way. Born this way.
Please join with me now in prayer. Wildly inclusive God, as we celebrate this day, our community joyfully affirms your love for all humanity, and particularly for LGBTQIA and Two-Spirit people. As a worldwide church, we confess the ways that we have been slow to acknowledge and to embrace the fullness, the goodness, the fluidity and evolution of sexual orientation and gender identity. We confess, O God, that we have participated in measures which have come and continue to come at a great cost to so many of your beloved children. As we continue to walk this path, may we do so with wisdom, with openness, and the good spirit which has no place for judgment, hate, violence, or persecution. Your presence, O God, welcomes the fullness of who we are. We are people who desire, who long, who practice love in many ways, We celebrate love that is platonic and love that is erotic, love that is queer and love that is collective. We are people who want to know and be known for who we've been, who we are, and who we are becoming. We honor identities in transition. We delight in authentic self-expression, whether trans or intersex or cis. You, O God, are part and parcel of our becoming. May all who long for love's embrace feel their holy worth this day and every day. God, we draw near to you as we continue to hold the province of Nova Scotia in our hearts in the wake of last week's horrific killings. And now comes fresh grief with the tragic news of yesterday's crash of the Cyclone helicopter of the HMCS Fredericton off the coast of Greece. We pause to honor those who are yet missing, including Captain Kevin Hagan, originally from Nanaimo. We uphold their shipmates, their families and friends, and all of the Canadian forces in this time of great sorrow. O loving one, in this anything but normal time, as we attempt as best we can to live and love and worship and homeschool and work and isolate and find our way in the midst of this pandemic, may we be gifted with extra measures of courage, kindness, and compassion as we continue to express our gratitude for all who work on the front lines. May we be especially mindful of the many who are close to the edges in oh so many ways, especially those who are overwhelmed with worry, with anxiety, with depression, and with deep grief. Friends, we pause now in front of this sacred candle, and we invite your prayers for the people, the situations, and the issues which are close to your hearts and your minds this day. So in your living room or your kitchen, let these people and situations come to you. We hold them in love and light and healing for all who need to hear a word of hope and to realize they are not alone, O God. We pray. We offer all these prayers as we attempt to speak truth to you and to each other, confident that the colors of the rainbow, a microcosm of the beautiful body of Jesus, continues to rise in us and through us and this creation in this Easter time, infusing us all with healing, with hope, with possibility and promise. May it be so this day. Amen.
So in the words of the Born This Way song, God doesn't make mistakes. You are all beautiful, just as you are. And so in that spirit, may you go into your week, affirmed by the God who loves us unconditionally and celebrates us in all our diversity through the rainbow of humanity. Amen.